I think they focused on the death panels, which will be coming. Call them what you will. Rationing is part of it, and
I agree. Huge. It's going to be a huge issue, and that's something else about which the president was not fully forthcoming and straightforward.
All right, so you believe that there will be rationing, aka death panels?
It's built into the plan. It's not like a guess or like a judgment. That's going to be part of how costs are controlled.
All right, there you go. One more for good luck. I promise we won't play that again for quite some time. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Final hour before we leave you for Thanksgiving weekend. And joining us right now, as he always does at this time, on this day and this hour, is Charles Hurt, columnist, Washington Times. Hello, Charles.
Happy Thanksgiving, Steve.
Happy
Am
Thanksgiving.
I allowed to say that, actually, or is that offensive to somebody?
Well, as long as you acknowledge that the Pilgrims were evil and they the good Indians were. Oh, I'm sorry. Could I say Indians?
No, come on. Now I'm offended.
How about this? How about Redskins? Go Redskins. How's that? Now I'm really in trouble.
I think we've offended everybody.
I know. It's also Hanukkah tonight, believe it or not.
Oh, happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, so the first day is tomorrow, and that's not going to happen again for, I believe, 6,000 years.
Oh, I read about this. That's right.
Yeah. So it's once in
quite a calendar event.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so listen. So I want you to weigh in on this this admission by Mark Halperin that he didn't utter the word death panels, but I've been using the analogy because he's trying to backtrack that. Did you kill the girl? I stuck a knife in her. I buried the body. I ran from the police. I hid because I didn't want to get the death sentence. But I never said I murdered her.
He quickly became an expert in the iPad lingo because I noticed that he started tweeting.
My bad. Yeah, my bad.
Trying to sort of massage what he said, but as is always the case in Washington, a scandal is when somebody accidentally tells the truth, and he did. Of course, there's going to be healthcare rationing. That's how it works. Just like there's, whenever your tax dollars are spent, there is rationing. Otherwise, why would you be paying taxes in the first place?
And
there's going to be a set amount of money that can be spent on saving people's lives and making them better. So and if the government is in charge, they're going to be in control of determining who gets it. Therefore, i.e., who lives and who dies, i.e., Sarah Palin's death panels.
Right, and Charles, I found out today, along with maybe some already knew this, including you, but I found out through, I think it was a Fox report, that guess what? The 51, the filibuster going bye-bye in the Senate means that Obama could appoint as many of the 15 members of that panel who decide who lives and dies, make them as radical left-wing as he wants, and all he needs is 51 votes to get him on.
Well, and Steve, talking to some people that are far smarter about Obamacare who actually read it when it was written, very smart people. That was the first thing that they leapt on is the fact that with this panel, as well as with the D.C. courts, it's going to pave the way to stack that panel, stack the courts, and basically remove the last obstacle that President Obama has to do anything he wants to with this health care law.
It is so scary, Charles. It is so frightening. It really is. I don't want to run short on time, though. When you wrote about something very important today in your column at the Washington Times, and I think it bears it's certainly addressing and giving it some time. And that is as we sit here on the eve of Thanksgiving, and you write, "Let us all give thanks for George Mason and the Bill of Rights." And that's like you said, he's one of our overlooked founding fathers. But talk about why you chose to write about him.
Well, it's interesting because I think that we talk so much about freedom and talk about democracy and stuff like that, but we forget how totally radical it was, this notion that that we weren't born living under the thumb, under the suppression of a king or a master or a monarch or some kind of higher, a government authority that just inherently had control of us. These guys were writing for the first time. George Mason, in his Virginia Declaration of Rights, said, no, that's not the case. Our rights are granted to us by God, therefore no institution, no human on earth can take it away. And the other thing that George Mason, for a number of reasons, has sort of kind of gone by the wayside. One of the things that he doesn't get credit for is the fact that when he wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights and when he inspired the Declaration of Independence and inspired the Bill of Rights, he knew at that time that he was laying the foundation to abolish slavery from the civilized world.
Right.
He knew it, and he fought against continuing the trade in slaves. The British monarchy refused to allow Virginia to stop the trade in slaves, even as they maintained the legality of the evil institution of slavery. But George Mason, he knew this was going to end slavery, and he wanted it to. But he doesn't get credit for that. It's just one of the many ways that George Mason is overlooked today. 200 years later.
I think it was a great piece, and I was so anxious to read it, and you're so right, and it needs to be pointed out a lot more than it is, and kudos to you for doing that. Now let's bring it back to reality for the remaining 2 minutes here, and that is that you say not born under the thumb of a king or a ruler or a dictator or whatever. Nonetheless, we do have an unprecedented leader, unprecedented in the way he decides to enforce laws, not enforce laws, and do it all against the Constitution and against the law, I believe, as so do many others. And now again today, although it might not affect that many, but another dictate. Small businesses, their website is not ready and won't be ready, so for another year they get a delay. It's just another day, another dictate, another unilateral move circumventing Congress, and another interpretation of a law which this man is not allowed to do, but he does it.
There's no nice or polite way of putting it. It's another violation of the Constitution, and he has made it he set the precedent now, and he does it with abandon. And I don't know, I haven't really studied the presidency throughout history as closely as I should, but I can tell you this, Steve, I cannot think of another example of a president who has so regularly and so willingly flouted the Constitution, simply made up what he wants to make up out of the laws. Obviously you can look at the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln lifting habeas corpus, and that was obviously not allowed under the Constitution. But at the same time, it was a war. It was wartime, and a lot of these things that we see going on occur. We're like with other presidents going outside of the bounds of the Constitution. It's usually during wartime. I don't know of another example where you have a president in peacetime just completely shredding the Constitution because for political purposes. Can you think of anything?
No,
like that?
no. And I like you. I'm not a presidential scholar, but certainly I could. We would have heard about it if Reagan did it. We would have heard about it if Bush did it in 8 years, and and we would have heard about it if Clinton was doing it. He would have been, that would have been included in impeachment charges. But none of that is the case. Hey. Let's enjoy our turkeys, and let's reconvene in a week and see how many more laws the president unilaterally interprets between now and then.
Indeed.
All right, Charles. Thank you very much for everything, and I appreciate it. That's Charles Hurt, ladies and gentlemen, columnist, Washington Times. Check it out at WashingtonTimes.com, his piece on George Mason, very informative. When we come back, the wife of a pastor still imprisoned in Iran, Steve Malzberg's show.